This interview is brought to you by Burn Up Coaching and the 21-Day Challenge. And if you're an entrepreneur or a high achiever and you feel like you just need more clarity, you feel like you're at a plateau, you feel like you're vaguely dissatisfied, you're not fired up as you used to be, you're not as driven, you're not as laser focused or crushing it as you used to be, or you just know there's another gear inside of you, the 21-Day Challenge is the perfect fit for the people who want to get clear on their purpose in life, break that down into bite-sized steps, dial in your daily and nighttime routines, your rituals, and be held accountable. Fiery accountability, fiery truth. Hold your feet to the fire every single day. So you have daily progress reports and check-ins, and then weekly deep dive calls to make sure that we're uncovering the stuff that comes up as you raise your performance level, as you create more consistency and those habits and rituals in your life. We'll find out what from your past, what from your lifestyle, what from your mindset might be getting in the way of you truly taking it to the next level. So that's the 21-Day Challenge. Over 21 days, we'll work on that on a daily basis. Very highly intensive and high touch, and it is a lot of fun. Definitely, you won't be able to recognize yourself after 21 days. It's a powerful program, and I'm excited to see you in it. If you're interested and committed to joining, send me an email, chris@beyourgps.com, or send me a message on Facebook, facebook.com/th3burns. And I'd love to see if it's a good fit for you. Thank you. And I look forward to seeing you in the 21-Day Challenge. Next is the iTunes review of the week. It's by You Got Sam. And he said, leap into launching your vision. I absolutely immersed myself with this podcast all weekend. I can speak from personal experience. I used to be the #1 procrastinator on the face of this planet. However, after meeting Chris Burns and listening to his podcast and all his content all over social media, I've taken that leap and launched my vision. And it has become a reality in the making. Hands down, so much value and knowledge has been taken away from this podcast. I highly recommend subscribing and taking that leap just like I have chosen to do. Cheers. Thanks so much, Sam. And if you want to give us a review on iTunes, go to beyourgps.com/iTunes, and you could do that there. Or you can send us a message, chris@beyourgps.com. Let us know, or you can do it on Facebook, facebook.com/beyourgps, and give us a review there. Thank you in advance for doing that, letting us know what you love, what you think could be improved, and how we can grow together into our greatest possible self. For the woman of the hour, it is Stacey Cooper. And again, she is a freaking lighthouse, powerhouse, gone through some really challenging times, had massive success in her career, and she's here to share gold and wisdom with us to become our greatest possible selves and our greatest possible leader selves. So make sure you stick around till the end, because you never know what one thing is going to transform the rest of your life. Maybe a story, maybe an exercise, maybe a technique, maybe a new idea. Hang tight, because who knows what you might get. Stacey Cooper is a spiritual wellness and trauma recovery coach who had previously been working in the health and fitness field for 15 years until she decided to follow her inner voice, that it was time to walk away from everything she knew to go on a personal healing journey. Stacey dove into the depths of her pain, which stemmed from a sexual assault that occurred at age 26, and now is emerging to share her story with the world and give others hope that healing is possible. Stacey is a catalyst to consciousness for women who are ready to heal their traumas and connect back to their body by finding the courage to remember the truth of who they really are and embody full emotional freedom from their past. And we are so blessed to have Stacey here with us today. Stacey, you ready to rock this?
Ready.
Awesome. She's ready. You are now live and rocking it on Becoming Your Greatest Possible Self. Thank you so much for being here and sharing with us about your journey and how we can step into our leadership and embodying that in the world. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. So let's.
Having me.
Yes, you're welcome. Absolutely. It's my pleasure. And Stacey, you know, we connected. What was it? It wasn't $1 Billion Body Live, was it, the first time? When was it?
In about a year. So we met at an event out in San Diego. I think it was Radical Gratitude.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Yes. Yeah. So we met there, and we've been in contact ever since. And, you know, we really got this deep connection because we get each other and have super powerful presences, both of us.
Over in the
And
corner talking for 4 hours.
that's right. We were outside taco shops talking for like hours. That was a blast. That was such an awesome night. So yes, 100%. And I just really appreciate your love and presence in the world, because it is super powerful and much needed. And we're going to be diving into that more specifically. But I'm really grateful to have you in my life. You're an amazing human being and friend. So thank you for showing up. Thank you. So let's dive right into the theme of the day, which is embodying your leadership. Stacey, how has this concept of embodying your leadership played a role in your life? What difference has it made in your career, in your journey, and what does it mean to you?
I feel like it's always ever evolving, still always figuring it out. To me, embody is the key word there, because are we being who we say we are? Is our messaging in line with the actual embodiment of who we are as a person? And the ability to constantly do what I call like integrity checks with things. So for me, it played a role. I mean, even as recent as these last 2 weeks here, where, with obviously the current climate of what's going on, without getting into any specifics, I think everybody knows it's been a little rough out there the last few weeks, right? Well, if you have a voice that you want to be heard, as a leader, I'm not being that visible. So it came to me this last 2 weeks where I was like, wow, I'm not really embodying what I say as a leader and being visible. So for me, it really came through this last few weeks, like write more, do more interviews, talk to people, speak more. It's like, that's what's kind of come up for me. And I'm still currently evolving through, because it's becoming a leader. I think as you have noticed, you're talking for 12 hours about it. There's a lot of layers to it, but the embodiment to me in particular means being who you say you are.
Wow. And that's so powerful, because in today's day and age of everyone can start a brand, everyone can start a business, everyone can say, this is who I am. And when it comes down to actually living it and embodying it, that's a whole different story. It's a whole different paradigm. It's a whole different league. It's a whole different come from and mindset. So I love that we're diving into this, and you actually inspired me to create this theme today, and we co-created it. So thank you for really doing that for us. It's amazing. It's powerful, super powerful.
Yeah.
So let's
the theme that's going on in general, especially particular. I don't know if you've seen it, especially with the coaching industry. Like, is who you're being out in the world truly a reflection of your message, your brand, who you are as a person, and we all have little, I know you've had Nicole Sylvester on, and I think she talks about integrity leaks at times, where it's like, okay, where are the little leaks and it's not judging yourself for it. It's just the awareness of going, okay, where's the leak here? Where am I out of alignment with who I truly am wanting to be in the world?
Yeah, that's powerful. And especially when you have a powerful brand like, your body honor movement or the Lighthouse, right? Like, that's super powerful. For me, it's greatest possible self. And that is such a powerful vision and ideal that if I'm not like making my highest self choices, then I'm immediately confronted with that, and like, it's just it's going to happen. People are going to fall out of alignment or out of integrity with who they say they are. If you're playing a big game in life, like, you're going to get confronted. There's going to be stuff that's coming up from the past that you have to deal with. And it's just like, how do you handle that? How do you respond to that? Do you handle it with compassion and grace for yourself and get the help that you need, and, raise your hand and say, hey, I'm struggling here. Like, I know I'm not living the greatest possible self message right now. How do I do something about it? And I go to the leaders around me. I go to my coach. I go to the people who are important to me and get that feedback so I can show up as my greatest possible self, because that's what will really create the attraction as a brand, is you living the message.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think that it's, I said this the other day too, leaders share their processing. So it's not feeling like you have to be perfect and on all the time. And I've been so proud of you, showing up in that space the last year too, where it's like letting people know that you are going through issues as well, that you're not perfect. That's what makes you relatable as a leader. People want to know and watch you through your journey and talk to them about, so not only your audience, no matter what you're doing as a business, but sharing with your audience the tough times,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And then also, like you said, being able to know who those people are that you can reach out to, who are your mentors as a leader. Because I think as a leader, sometimes we think we have to have it all together, you know, and even if it's a paid mentor or non-paid mentor, there's still these like, oh, I got to show up a certain way. And, you know, we all need those people that can hold the space for us and go, okay, I'm good. Now I can go out and lead.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. Go get that tune-up, right? That go back to the mechanic shop called the
Yeah,
coaching
I call it
conversation.
a team. Yeah, a team of people that keep me together.
Yeah. I love it. I love it. So Stacey, tell us a little bit more about Love and Lighthouses for people who are just finding out about you and a little bit more about what you're up to currently.
Okay, sure. So as you mentioned in the intro, I was in fitness for around 15 years. And then that was primarily kind of more like personal training, nutrition type stuff. And then when I was in Santa Barbara at that time, and I moved home to Los Angeles, which is where I'm at currently, and started doing the work, you know, in my opinion, the real work of really diving into yourself. And what emerged was I was trying to make the fitness and yoga stuff still fit. I was like forcing that identity still there. And it's now evolved into, no, this is coaching. You're meant to help other women through this and through, you know, it doesn't specifically have to be the exact experience that I've been through. In my opinion, trauma is trauma. And I almost see it as like an obligation now, you know, based upon the work that I've done. And that's what Love and Lighthouses is. It's the coaching, and it's going to evolve into live events and a podcast of really just letting people know that there's something else available. Like, I think we get labeled broken a lot of times when we go through difficult experiences, and maybe we only get exposed to one modality of healing. So helping people with really like resource networks and, okay, here's all these different available options for you. The team, you know, like I wouldn't be here today without so many people, you know, paid and unpaid people in my life. And so really just Love and Lighthouses is going to be this avenue for people to come together to heal and know they're not alone and know that it's possible. I just hear constantly, I'll never be where you are. There's no way I can do that. And I'm like, hang with me and trust me. And it takes a lot of time to rebuild interpersonal relationships, especially if the trauma is interpersonal. That's what a lot of people don't understand, especially with like sexual assault. If trauma is sustained interpersonally, it's a scientific fact that it has to actually be partially healed interpersonally.
Wow.
We can't just dive in and do the inner work. Like, you know, as a friend, like I isolated myself a lot. I was still like in my cocoon. And it was truly putting myself out there and reaching out to friends and being more visible and writing and sharing that was the last little key to truly unlock to get me to where I am now. And I think that I'm just really excited to share that with people. So that's really what Love and Lighthouses is.
Awesome. I love it. I love it. So I want to dive back into the journey. And I know you had some challenging times in your journey. So wherever you want to go with that, I'm totally cool. And I want to focus on that because, you know, you're a powerhouse communicator now. You're building this Love and Lighthouses, impacting people and women's lives all over. And, you know, it really is an opportunity for you to share what were some of those moments where you could have been defined one way or the other, or you could have stayed small, or you could have been defeated. Rather, you chose to rise above it. You chose to keep moving forward. You chose to do everything in your power to get to where we are today. So tell us about some of those challenges, whatever you feel comfortable with, and we'd love to learn what was some of that wisdom that you gained.
Yeah, I would say what was a little bit, you know, my situation by no means were, especially the last few weeks, we're hearing some really horrific stories about what women have been through, right? And so by no means is my situation unique, but there was something that was a little bit different in that I experienced what's called dissociative seizures. So I was drugged with a tranquilizer with my assault. And so I lost the ability to use my body to even be able to fight them off. So what had happened is a few years later, and I think we're all starting to witness how trauma works, how things can be locked away, how things can surface at all different times. I would have involuntary seizures. And I let that, I mean, now granted, it would rock anybody. There's nothing more debilitating than looking down at your body and having it do something that you're like, I'm not telling you to do that. I mean, it's terrifying. But I let that for a long time just, understandably keep me really locked away and hidden. I was like, I don't know when and where this is going to happen. I could be at a supermarket. I could be looking at my phone. And I really let that be my excuse for a long time to go, no one's going to understand this. No one's going to see me. I'm going to freak people out. What if this happens? How can I have a relationship? Like all the things came up. And I mean, when I say I became a hermit, I did. And a lot of people, if anybody watches this that knows me kind of back in the day, I was very visible, very in the social eye. And I did the exact opposite. So I would say that was probably the darkest time. And I think when when you and I became friends, I was understanding I was ready, but there was still this like, am I good? Like, am I really good here? Can I do this? Is it safe? And I think that's something I want to make clear too, if there's any people that have been through a similar experience watching this, it is up to you what is safe for you at all times. I had to learn how to create my own safety again. When it was safe for me to start doing lives just like this, I was nervous about starting to step into this space again. So it's one, create safety. But when it was diving in and going, okay, I want to learn about this. So what I did is I took trauma courses. I worked with some of the best healers and doctors there were around. I took my healing so incredibly seriously. And I was like, I'm going to do the work. I'm going to get through this because I wanted to be on the other side in a sense to where I'm like, I can lead women through that. That's how I heal. I heal through service. And that's what I'm like, especially with everything going on, and we're seeing how many people need this type of healing.
Also, one thing I heard is in the beginning, it sounded like you healed a lot through just sharing about it, just not holding it in anymore. Because at some level, you went through your own processing and saying, and then you started getting less and less. Maybe you journaled about it, maybe you thought about it, maybe you started, just the charge dissipated on it a little bit, and then you started being able to share it with people, and that really helped. And then through the final layers and levels of completion and like healing around it, so to speak, now you get to empower others who are going through similar situations. Because I find that when we've gone through a challenge and we're still holding on to it, if we go and teach other people how to overcome that, then we get healed in kind of a vicarious way through them.
Right. Yeah. And not being like, hey, who knows if I'll have one in a year or 2 years from now, but not letting that fear keep me from stepping forward and helping people that I knew were still out there that needed my message, that no matter where I was in the journey, that there were still people that needed me to step up. There were people out there still going through something that I had answers to, or potential healing words or messages that would just get thrown away if I never talked about it. But, again, the key point is knowing who's safe, for survivors. And I just want to issue that again, especially in the climate that we're in. It's like, not everybody deserves your story. So find out who those close friends are, who I'm so blessed for my great male friendships in my life too, because it was also me trusting the masculine again. That was key. So it wasn't just my sisters. It was also like talking to men again, and friends that understand, even if they just didn't understand completely, they wanted to learn. And then that was healing.
Right.
That's where the healing, exactly what you just said, occurs, is through that sharing and people holding space for you.
Well, what I hear is like in your most vulnerableness, right? When you feel least willing to trust someone, you share it to the person who you're most guarded against trusting and most distrusting of, and after that you're like, okay, nothing happened. It didn't happen again. I didn't die. Like, whatever stories, rationalizations we make up, like you share it and you're like, wow, I feel freer. I shared it with the energy that I was so intimidated or afraid of. That was safe. That was a safe encounter. Let's keep doing that. Or in your subconscious mind, it's like, maybe I can do it again,
Well, and that's exactly what, happened to me. Some of my story, it was literally like the universe had set up these layers for me. It was almost bizarre. I had run across the man that assaulted me on a dating site first, and I didn't have a seizure. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm good. I'm okay. And then universe decided to step it up, and I ran into him in person when I hadn't had to see him for 13 years. And I was like, okay, I got this. And then I started speaking. I'm like, oh, okay, I can do that. It's just in layers. It's being so proud of yourself. Like, I think so often we focus on what we don't have versus where we are from where we've been, giving ourselves so much credit and love and compassion in that moment for going, oh my God, like, I got through this. Well, what if I tried this? Yeah. Okay, maybe I'm more ready than I think. So you're absolutely spot on with that.
Yeah, and what I hear is there's almost like this self-distrust, right? Like you talked about creating safety for yourself, like what's safe for me kind of thing. And what I'm hearing in your sharing is like the being proud of yourself for every step forward is because it sounds like some people, and some women especially, but all people, through that process of going through trauma might say, how could I have been so foolish? How could I be so silly or stupid? Or, oh my gosh, I will never do that again. I will never make that mistake again. I'll never trust myself again. And so they wind up in that place of like despair and like, who can I trust? I can't even trust myself.
It's super common. I mean, I'm going to go out there and go, it's like 99.9. Like, you lose the trust in self because you're like, I mean, of course, there's always varying situations with any kind of assault situation, but if 80% are usually someone you know, okay? So it's a really high number. So if it's someone you know, the immediate response is usually to blame yourself along with societal victim blaming and things like that. But when it's someone you know, yeah, of course that comes in. I should have known. I shouldn't have done this. I should have blah, blah, blah. Like all these shoulds. So it's a real journey to trust yourself again. And again, the relationships are key. Even if they're the same gender that you start with that feels safe to you, or meaning the opposite gender than assaulted you, whatever you want to start with that creates safety for you, even if it's a therapist, you just build. And then you just build and build and build to where that safety is then now. I never dreamed I would be where I am now and feel like, wow, I really do feel like I can create safety for myself at all places. And there's this, that I listen to that little voice. That person's not safe. That person doesn't deserve my story. Okay. Oh, I don't like this environment. Okay. I'm going to go. You just start to build, I call it inner resilience. That you bounce back from those things like, this person doesn't feel right. Trust yourself to go, okay, I'm going to leave. That's how you build the personal power back. It's, I have the power to walk away. These the tiniest things you can imagine, creating the boundaries and those little moments where you build. Yeah.
And I hear inner resilience, and another word that people might be familiar with as well is intuition. You get those little hits of intuition. You get the hint of, hey, this doesn't quite feel right. It's time to go somewhere else. Or this person doesn't quite feel like they would respect me and my story. Okay, I'm not going to share it, and wish them a great day, or keep it at whatever level conversation that it was at before, or whatever you're comfortable with.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Awesome. So I know we got a lot of information and wisdom from that. So thank you for sharing your journey through that. For anyone who might be going through a challenging situation or feeling alone, definitely reach out to Stacey. I'm sure she's going to be telling you how you can do that at the end as well. And just like who you are as a space and someone who just listens and is willing to hear people is phenomenal. So thank you for being who you are, Stacey, because you've done so much personal work on yourself to be able to hold space for these people who've gone through trauma, and also be a powerful leader, which is incredible. So as far as embodying the leader that we know ourselves to be, and be that lighthouse for others, where do we need to start with that? What do we need to know about that journey or embarking on that journey?
Well, I think it's a good tie-in because going back to my story really quick, it was like I dove into saving other people or trying to fix other people a lot. A lot of people, if anybody from the past is watching this, they'll know, like, that's what I did, right? But a lighthouse, how that kind of brand came to be, was like, they just stand there in their truth. They embody the healing, and then that's what brings the right people to you, and then that's the way that you're the clear vessel. So it's like diving in to do your own healing work so that you can embody that, right? And continually doing that, like with the integrity checks. Am I being what I say? Am I, walking the walk, doing the, So it was a real evolution from, we think leaders, well, sometimes we tend to go into, I need to fix, I need to save, I need to do this, or we project our stuff on them. Right. And so if we're not constantly being in integrity with the work we do on ourselves, and our own healing, we're not going to get to the embodiment portion and really call in and serve the people that we're meant to as a business owner. Like, there's a lot of things I'm proud of in my past, and there's a lot of things I'm not proud of in the way that I handled business. Like, I was super reactive. Like, I wasn't well. I was like getting mad at everything. I wasn't a great leader in a lot of ways because I hadn't taken care of myself. I did a lot of good, but also I did a disservice to a lot of people because I wasn't healthy myself.
Totally.
And so it's getting to that point where you are being who you say, and you can lead accordingly through that clear channel.
Yeah, that's powerful. And I love it because it's like trying to give from an empty cup kind of mindset. So many people are trying to go out there and save the world, but they don't even have their bills paid. They don't even have, their health in check. They don't even have their relationships in check, their boundaries, their well-being is not even, in integrity. So I so appreciate that. And we do have James Hoff out in the audience. So I did want to shout out James. He said two amazing people here. Love you both. And he said, it's super important. Now we're talking. Get the men involved. We love to be part of solutions, and it helps us maybe understand more. Thanks for opening up to all of us about that. Thank you, James. Love you, man.
Yeah, I've been trying. I think what he's referencing is like I've really hopefully remained a really neutral space with a lot of the stuff that's going on the last few weeks. Just because I work with women in a coaching space, it's the stuff that I do is going to evolve into a lot of events involving all genders, and so the healing can occur.
Yeah,
needed.
Yeah, we do. We 100% do. So when we get clear on who we are and standing in our power, that's when we're able to be that lighthouse. So tell us more about the evolution of saying, hey, okay, I'm willing to heal. I'm willing to take myself on. I'm willing to be a lighthouse. What are the next steps that people are going to go through?
I was actually thinking about that when I was speaking about it a second ago. I would say it depends on the industry that you're in per se, but just really quickly, maybe touching on the coaching industry. Like for me, it was practicing, like even I was still doing fitness clients quite a bit. And unfortunately, there were a lot of survivors just because of the numbers, and I would do separate coaching sessions with them to also gain my confidence back in that field.
Totally.
Even if it was, not paid for a little bit. It was practicing, for me at least. This is how it worked. It was practicing, am I truly ready? Because especially when your trust is rocked, your confidence is rocked. Who am I to do this? Who am I to serve in this way? Oh, are they going to be the fitness girl turned trauma girl? So I had to actually I would say you literally step into it. You literally start being it and see what responds. If you truly are it, it will come to you. So being just a little bit more proactive with whatever industry you're in, and get out there and start doing it, and it literally unfolds. When I started sharing Facebook posts, I think you saw this, like the speaking thing landed in my lap and podcasts landed in my lap, and I was like, wait, I was just sharing on Facebook because I didn't know that all this was going to happen, right? Yeah. So when you truly start being it, it all unfolds. It really does.
So what's the self-check of if someone is really being what they're saying, really walking the talk?
I try to do integrity checks every morning, believe it or not. Where am I out of alignment? I call it out of alignment for me, because if something goes south in my day, there's always some reason why. And to be clear, not to overanalyze it. Don't go down the rabbit hole. But we all have that gut reaction in knowing where we're out of alignment. I had a big one happen the last few weeks. I was out of integrity with my friendships, and I was getting that reflected to me through some girlfriends. And I was like, here I am creating community and sisterhood, right? And I'm out of integrity in the thing, right? And it's being available to listen to other people that maybe are giving you those reflections and not be defensive, not feel like you're being attacked. Just go, wow, are they right? Okay, they are. Okay, I'm going to flip this. So it was, and that was directly related to what I do and an embodiment situation, right? So it's listening to the reflections around you and what people are sharing with you, if they're seeing some things that are inconsistent, and then evaluating if you're yeah, I'm going to own that, or if you're no, I'm good. I would say, what belongs to you, what belongs to me, and having that discernment.
So I hear when people come to us, then we're able to say, okay, hold on. I've either gotten this from one or two or three people saying the same things or similar things. I should definitely check in. What if there aren't people coming to us yet saying something about it?
I would say it's like I work backwards in the sense of, where do I want to be?
Mm-hmm.
So what is my ultimate vision, right? We've all done those practices in personal development. Like, what is the big picture?
Mm-hmm.
So even work backwards. What does this person look like? What do they do? Who do they hang out with? Where did they go? So that's a really good practice to do if no one's giving you a reflection and you're just like, am I in integrity with that person? This life that I see, the relationship that I want, all of these things, and then work backwards and go, okay, who am I being today? Am I being that person today that looks like that, my 5-year, my 10-year, and then just doing your best on a daily basis. It doesn't happen overnight, the big dream, right? But it leads up to that. So are you being that person?
So for people who feel like they're being a leader, but people aren't necessarily resonating with their message, or they don't really see much transforming around them. They want to be a leader. They see themselves as a leader. They know themselves to be in integrity, but they don't see much impact being created in the world or social media or anything like that around them. What would you recommend to those people?
Well, so if are we talking just like they feel like their influence through social media isn't enough?
Yeah.
Mainly through social media.
Mm-hmm.
If someone's not sure, I think it's usually a reflection of the embodiment. But like, I do things like I'll go to events and force myself to get out of my comfort zone, like especially interpersonal ones where they do like group practices where you have to lead or you have to speak and get feedback from other people, right? So that you can get that reflection if they're like, oh, this was a little off or that was a little off. So actual live events, you love conferences, as do I, right? And getting like lifetime feedback of where some things could be off. But I've also got beautiful feedback that, don't get so locked up on the numbers and the influence, right? Like I could say that about myself. Like I just started the rebrand. I don't have this huge following, with this new endeavor, but I get beautiful messages all the time. So paying attention and being in gratitude, even if it's just one person, it's like, wow, like stay in that energetic vibration of that. Wow, I'm so grateful that I was able to serve that one person today. And I truly feel that builds, because if you focus on the numbers and the lack, you go the opposite way. So focusing on the gratitude of who you are serving, even if it's that 5 and you rock that. If 5 people are watching your live, it's like, that's it. You go for it. You know that you serve them, and just don't give up, and then being available for feedback.
Powerful, powerful. With regards to embodying leadership, what does that look like if you want people to be empowered to embody the message that you're giving out? So if you want to empower them to go spread this message, like you have this message about women healing and processing their trauma and feeling safe and getting back onto a path of creating wellness, of creating their greatest possible self. So if you want them to live that and also go out and share it, because you don't want to just be the bottleneck, what would you recommend to be? How do you show up as a leader to create that kind of a impact in people's lives?
The answer is just that's a really layered process. That's just the truth. So it's like, I already have women that I work with currently that they know they want to be leaders, and it's just going to be their personal journey, because you can't rush healing. I love to say that too. It's just, you can't rush it, right? Yeah. So it's like, I have girlfriends that are domestic violence survivors. I have girlfriends that are, had traumatic brain injuries from an assault. Like, so many different layers to it that their healing process is going to be different than mine. I can share my toolkit, and I'm a guide. So I say, like, I'm a guide, I'm a catalyst. By no means am I here to force anyone to be that. But I tend to, like, people gravitate towards me that are usually like, okay, I want to serve. Like, I want to get through, like how I was. Like, I want to get through this so I can serve. So having that compassionate container for them to know they will get there at their own pace. And then the baby steps. That goes back to sharing the story. Exactly what we were just talking about. Like, is it going to an open mic night and sharing your story, through poetry? Is it a women's circle and sharing your story for the first time to 10, 15 people? Is it starting with a few little things that scare you, and then that builds, and then people are just drawn to you. People are looking for leaders right now, and especially the ones sharing the tough stories. People are done with the pretty package. They're done with the like, oh, everything's perfect, or it was really easy to get here. They want to know. They want to know the tough stuff. And I think, as we've seen 100% the last few weeks, women are sharing some of the deep down secrets that they buried for a long, long time. And so more than ever, I think there's a lot of people going, oh, wow, this was valuable to another woman. Like, we've seen it even online. Like, wow, this was so healing. I have a guy that I was talking to this week that has been sharing beautiful posts, and women are writing on his posts, wow, you showing up is healing right now. You writing this is healing for me. So it's like, even if it's a Facebook post, that's how it started for me. Like, however it feels right to you to be a leadership role, because you don't know who's listening, who needed that. And then you're automatically a leader.
Wow, that's powerful. So I hear just owning your message and get into the practice of sharing it as often as possible, because you never know who needs to hear it in that moment. You never know what kind of situations or circumstances might be going on in their world, or let alone the world, that would have it impact them and inspire them and help them out on their journey.
And it wouldn't be me if I didn't always put this disclaimer, just because with trauma, it's important. Again, make sure it's a safe environment, because we've been seeing that also. It's like, make sure that you feel comfortable, that you're not going to be verbally attacked, because that can be massively triggering. So I just want to put that disclaimer out there if it's a survivor experience. Other things are a little bit different, but if there is an actual like PTSD or trauma, start with your therapist, start with, build, because I just had to frame that, because I think we've been seeing that too.
Yeah. Yeah. So the embodied leader who you are in 5 years from now, who is that version of yourself? Tell us about that, Stacey Cooper.
Well, the podcast will definitely be going. The goal is summer 2019 for that. And that's going to be Lighthouse Live. So that's where I'll be interviewing people, and then heavily speaking. I was just at an event last night about TEDx events, and I was sharing some of my ideas with them, and they were like, oh my God, you have to do this.
Yeah.
So it was a really cool reflection, and I was like, really? Okay. So I think, once you get excited about speaking, so I think I really love sharing my energy that way, through lives, through speaking, through interviews. Like, I just feel like that's very much in my heart. And, I'll have some clients, but I think in order to get the message out there to a wide scale, and as we've seen, I feel like mine in particular, that healing is possible, is really, really needed in the world right now. And 5 years from now, I would love for that just to be established and traveling, sharing that message.
What wisdom do you think you're going to gain in the next 5 years? What wisdom would your 5-year self tell to yourself right now?
I mean, what keeps coming up for me, just even the last week, I just feel like the universe is like, finally, there. So I think the wisdom is just going to be like, I never want to look back, because I know I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be at all moments. And this healing journey couldn't have gone any differently for me. But I think the wisdom I'm going to gain is how many people really did need to hear my message and do. And that's going to be surprising to me, because I had locked it away like, who needs this? And, I think that's going to be the wisdom is I was made, Nicole, we talked about this on the phone this week, where Nicole had that picture where she says, I'm made for this, right?
Yes.
She was also one of my mentors and dear friends. And, just that I was made for this. I think that's going to be the wisdom of like, okay, speaking is your thing, getting your message out there is your thing. And on a personal level, I think the wisdom that's going to come a lot with the interviews and doing the events is just, I really am excited to be a voice for just all the genders healing through this and truly listening to each other. And I think there's going to be a lot of wisdom gained through our men right now, and how they feel about all this, and how we help our boys and how we help our men, and how do we not all feel scared in this environment right now where we're all learning. And so I think I'm going to gain a lot of wisdom from the masculine as well. And I'm excited for that.
Awesome. So we talked about the wisdom that you are going to be gaining in the next 5 years and what you're excited about receiving. How about a few years ago? What wisdom do you feel like you needed back then? We may have already covered it, with being safe and different things like that. And if you could share that message with yourself a few years back, what would be that wisdom that you'd give yourself?
I think it was really learning the aspect of trauma that it had to be healed partially, interpersonally as well, because that was the little key that I think I was still stuck on. I felt like I'd done so much of the deep work, but I wasn't really being that social. I wasn't going on dates. I wasn't reaching out with my friends. Like I had gotten to this place that I felt like I'd done the work, right? But I wasn't embodying it. It was exactly what I'm talking about today. It's like I wasn't being it. I brought this up on stage a few weeks ago that was the shift where I was out of integrity with the embodiment portion back then. It was like there's always layers of healing.
Right.
I wasn't, we're always healing, but I was at a level where I wasn't showing up in the world like someone who had done the work that I'd done, and so it was still isolating in my house, and I think that was one of the biggest aha moments, was seeing how much beauty came out of new female friendships, new male friendships, like James, that's one of my best friends, and I'm just like, I would not be where I am without him, this last year. So it's like just putting yourself in environments where you're like, friendships that just don't even make sense to you can be some of the most cathartic, healing, most amazing things, right?
Yeah. Super powerful.
The biggest.
Super powerful. And also what I heard in your journey of healing is you compartmentalized, right? You said, hey, if I've done all this work here on myself, personally isolated, it's supposed to apply everywhere, right? And it's like you didn't have the awareness that, well, it does and it also doesn't. There's like, how do I show up in all situations? How am I willing to get into uncomfortable situations or situations where I challenge myself. I step outside of my comfort zone. I put myself in new situations where I have to adapt and try these things out for the first time, or seemingly first time in a long time. I think that's really powerful to have that awareness that even if you have mastered communication on Facebook Lives, if you are not able to get in front of an audience because you're deathly afraid of speaking on stage, then that's a whole nother aspect of being in integrity with embodying your message. If you're not willing to get on stages and share it, then like you're not making potentially the maximum impact that you could in the world. So that's really powerful.
Yeah, and again, and to be clear, with trauma and PTSD specifically, just also having this massive compassion that your brain is wired differently. It does. I mean, you and I have even talked as friends about this, that it isn't just this like thing that you get over, right? It's not a mindset thing. Your mind has literally changed. Okay. And so I do want to speak to that in a sense too, is knowing that journaling helped a lot with that as well, because John Ostroff talks about this a little bit from a neuroscience perspective. If we have a warring thought from who would you want to be, or the affirmation, right? Why are affirmations so hard, or why is changing? Because it's like that pattern needs to be interrupted. So a lot of times, like he talks about journaling out the limiting belief and then evidence how that's not true in order to get into the space where finding an affirmation that is true. So I could take that even to who I'm being in the world. Like I had to journal out, how is the world safe? How am I safe? How do I have friends? How do I have support? How is this not true, that it's not safe for me to go out here? That's what actually helped rewire the trauma, because it was very normal to isolate. My body felt it was not safe doing these things. So it's this body, I work a lot with body connection. It's just innate from the fitness background. So it's working with the body as well to go, okay, you're safe. You got this. You can do this event or that event or share that story. So it is layered. It's very layered with trauma.
So this is important to embody leadership. It takes practice, it takes repetition, and then there's also the aspect of through trauma that's a really massive impact in the opposite direction, in the negative direction. What would you say is some of the most powerful ways to move it in the positive direction if we want to do it as quickly as possible, if we do have patience with ourselves and we want to expedite that process to rewire ourselves and break through the trauma and embody the leadership as quickly as possible and step into our power that we know is just, it's freaking waiting for us? Like, what would you recommend for that?
Well, I mean, I always want to make it clear, if you're in an acute state of trauma, like therapy, like
Hmm.
I did EMDR therapy, I wouldn't be where I am without somatic therapy. But even look at the word embody. The word body is in there. So it's getting in touch with your body. So is it during neurosensory exercises if you've experienced trauma? There's a lot out there for that, and working with certain people on that. And what are the things that you love to do? Like for me, it was dancing. It was getting over some fears in safe environments. It's, you've got to almost like not almost, you literally have to rewire the nervous system. With trauma, you're constantly in the sympathetic, you're fight or flight, you're on all the time. You walk out that door, the world is not safe.
No.
So it's training, it is safe, and then you get to the leadership point. So when we're talking about trauma specifically, again, we could talk for hours about this, but it's like the embodied portion. I would be doing some practices that are working with your body. I was just at an event last night about speaking, and Taylor Conroy was leading it. He's really well known for getting people TEDx talks. And he talks about how he gets over the fear, because he was like terrified, anxiety, like he would have rashes and like just lose his shit, right? And he would say, he's like, I do talks upside down with my head turning so that, and I'm like, what? And he's like, it's so that my body can get used to all the different distractions. He was joking that he gives his talk in airports, like to people that don't want to listen to his talk, to get over that fear. So that I was fascinated, because it's really true. That's how the body rewires. Oh, this isn't so scary. He's like, if I can do my talk in an airport in front of a bunch of people that don't want to hear me talk, I can get on that stage that do want to hear it.
Yeah.
And I really resonated with that, with working with the body, because when we're afraid of something, we also have to tell our body it's safe to do these things. And so we have to put ourselves in those environments to get over it, to tackle it. So there was a lot of interrelated things about what he was talking about last night. I really appreciated it. So it was kind of interesting.
That's awesome. Awesome. So I hear to put yourself in an environment that is going to stimulate you in the way that you want to go, or challenge you or confront you, as long as it's a safe environment, as long as we've decided that, hey, this is safe and I'm good no matter what happens. And in that process, even stuff might come up that might make it, hey, I made the decision that it's safe. And once you get there, it's like, oh no, I'm not ready for this. Have compassion and grace for yourself if that happens.
Yeah, always being like, always saying like, oh, maybe this didn't go as well as I thought. Like create safety at all times, boundaries. Yeah.
Yeah, I love it. I love it.
Learning who our tribe is and what's right for us and what feels right. Following our gut.
Yeah. What is it that you look for, in addition to embodying their teachings? What do you look for in leaders and mentors and coaches who you look up to, so that you are inspired to play at a bigger level and be your greatest possible self?
Well, the embodiment is key. So for me, I'm really drawn to coaches that are they thriving in a lot of different areas of their life. Like they may have, they may be very well versed on a subject that I'm, working with them on. But I like to look at who they're being in their life. Like a lot of times before I, hire a mentor or even ask to apprentice with someone, I spend a lot of time with them, following them and watching them. Like we've all seen people unravel that we're surprised at lately, right? Or we go, oh wow, I just didn't think they were that person. Or so really just diving in and really getting to know that person. But I'm also very drawn to if they have a social conscience. Like, are they doing good in the world? What kind of impact are they making? Because for me, that's a person who has a different level of a drive to do good in the world. And, do they have a for-purpose lend to their business? Like, are they volunteering? Like, I really like to see that, because it means they're in this. They're in this, on such a deeper level. So I look for that in mentors a lot.
It's powerful. What is, what would you say are like 3 of your top values, your top core values that you live in and want to put out into the world and embody?
Well, I usually have 5. I would say my top 3 then.
You can do 5. You can do 5. I'm cool with 5.
5 is good.
More than me.
It's always, I think it's service, love, abundance, health, and compassion. Those are my 5. And
why those 5?
I just service has been, I mean, people that know me, like since I was a kid, it was just like, my mom was just like, that's just who you were, you know? It was like, you were always getting in trouble for like talking too much, but you were helping people with their homework. Like you just, that's who you were. So that's just an innate in me. And I believe it's truly why we're here. Like if we're here to serve each other. So, I mean, that's definitely my core. Love has just always come up for me, like unconditional love. Like I've been working a lot with my own like judgments, you know, and what is a judgment versus a reflection and things like that. And I always really, I pride myself on holding a really non-judgmental space. So, yeah, I would say being love. Like, can I be unconditional love at all times, even when I don't know where someone's coming from? Can I meet them where they're at? And I just think that that's a great practice to have in life throughout our day at all stages. The compassion is just compassion and empathy. My goodness, it's just so needed in the world right now. And if I can be a lighthouse for that as well, is just, we don't have to go through the exact experience as that person to have compassion. And I think that's what we're seeing in our world right now. Can we have compassion for people that are needing to share their stories right now, or have no idea what that felt like, but still have compassion for the story, or go, you know what? I can't make a judgment on that of how I would show up because I just don't know. I've never been through that. Can we hold that container for them?
How does someone know if they're being judgmental or if they're being like compassionate, or if they're, you know, authentically putting themselves in someone else's shoes?
Good question. Like in the judgment is, oh, we could go down the rabbit hole with this too. If you are telling them they need to be something, telling them they need to be, they should be, there's a right and a wrong, that goes back to them meeting them exactly where they're at. Can you offer them a different thing that could be available? But there is no right and wrong. We're all just spectrums. Like even Beckwith says, it's like everything's a spectrum, right? There is no light and dark. It's just all a spectrum. You know, there is no love and hate at the spectrum, right? Of love. So it's inquiry. It's doing your own work to know whether you're truly being in that judgmental space. For me, like I catch myself all the time. Like, am I judging? Oh, is this about me? Okay. Why do I feel that way? Why does this trigger me? Being able to do that. And then also knowing like, no, I'm just calling this person to rise right now. We're seeing that. Like, am I just being a reflection that maybe there's something else available for them?
Yeah.
With compassion. Does that kind of answer it?
Yeah, it does. It does. Yeah, that's powerful. Yeah, I love it. Awesome. So we're beginning to wrap up now, Stacey. This has been an amazing, amazing interview. We want to know the final takeaways, final points we really want our audience to receive from this and take action on moving forward.
Just that all your wildest dreams are possible. Just everything is possible. It's follow your gut and your truth. Because I remember so many people telling me I would not be where I am here based upon clinical things, or, you know, and no matter what someone else tells you, what's your truth? You know, do you believe you're meant to be a leader? Do you have a story to share? Do you know and feel it within the core of your soul that you see this other version of yourself that is available? You can see it, you can taste it, and hold on to that and don't let anything else take you off of that. Like, I knew I would be here. I knew I would be able to get this. I mean, even through tears and through messy and like, I don't know how I'm going to do it, but by God, I'm going to do it. And so just don't let anyone take you off that path, you know, to leadership, if that's what you want.
Amazing. Amazing, Stacey. So how can people stay connected with you, and what do we want them to do next?
Oh, all the places. All of them. Well, right now, obviously, you can friend me. The website right now is Body Honor Movement. And then the next one will be loveandlighthouses.com. And then all the social handles are Love and Lighthouse Body Honor. So you can find me there too.
Beautiful. Amazing. Stacey, you're an incredible, inspirational human being. Grateful to know you, and I'm excited to see you all over the world on stages and really bringing this healing forward, bringing your love and your compassion forward, and just like the ability to say, I was once in your shoes, and I was once suffering, and I once didn't think I had any choice in the matter. and look at where I'm at now, and just the testimony that you are for these women or men who've gone through trauma is just, it's incredible. So I really acknowledge you for doing that and stepping up to that.
Thank you so much. Thank
You're
you so
welcome.
much. And thank you, because you've been a dear friend throughout all this as well. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Stacey. Awesome. Have the best day ever, and we'll see you soon, okay?
Okay, sounds good.